Hey everyone, first of all, please excuse the way that I sound. The end of the year crud has hit the PT house, and as usual, the first casualty has been my voice. But it's the end of December, and I didn't want to end this first year of my LitReels without talking about some of my favorite books that I read this year. Now, not all of these books were published this year, it was just the first year that I read them. So here are some first reads that really stood out to me this year. My favorite nonfiction book that I read this year was Mystery of Mysteries, The Death and Life of Edgar Allan Poe by Mark Dawidziak.
Nevermore!
That damn Raven's back again. Anyway, I told you guys about this book around Halloween, and it's really earned a place on my list. The author does a lot of research, and he alternates between telling you the story of Edgar Allan Poe's life and chapters trying to unravel the strange mystery surrounding his death in 1849. She hasn't read it yet, but I've passed the book on to my wife, who loves her true crime just as much as I love my stories about literature. It's rare that those two Venn diagrams intersect. My favorite science fiction novel that I read for the first time this year, and I know I'm behind on this one, was The Three-Body Problem by Lou Sixon. The book came out in 2008, so I'm sure most of you have already read it, but it absolutely blew me away. If you haven't read it yet, or haven't watched the Netflix adaptation, the story follows different groups of people around the world who slowly uncover evidence of an alien invasion that, well, let's just say that they're not in any rush. This first book in the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy shows the way that the invasion is discovered. The second book, The Dark Forest, shows the way that society would change as a result of this kind of monumental revelation. The final novel, Death's End, actually I haven't read that one yet, but it's at the top of the to-read pile for 2025 because I was just really excited by the first two. Honestly, I would say that this is the best science fiction of the 21st century so far. My favorite horror novel I read for the first time this year was How to Make a Horror Movie and Survive by Craig DeLuey. In this movie, filmmaker Max Maury is stuck doing a slasher franchise that he hates instead of being the true auteur that he sees himself as, until he finds a movie camera with bizarre properties that slowly start to help him realize his dreams, but at a horrific cost. The book is both creepy and funny, and it works really well as a satire of movie making in the 1980s, which, sadly enough, is pretty similar to the way movies are made today. In fact, I'd go so far as to say this book would probably make a hell of a movie. My favorite fantasy novel that I read for the first time this year was A Nightmare in Oz by David M. Keyes, the first book in his new Oz Chronicles trilogy. It's 120 years since Dorothy Gale first came to Oz, and she's been living there unaging for over a century now. But now, for the first time, Dorothy is starting to have nightmares in this utopic fairy kingdom, and she's not the only one. A lot of writers remain slavishly devoted to the original L. Frank Baum style of writing. Others go so far in the opposite direction, go so wild and extreme that the books don't really have any authentic Oz flavor at all. Keyes has found a wonderful balance between the two. Dorothy, Ozma, and the other characters feel very true to themselves, but the storytelling is much more sophisticated and much more mature, as befitting a more modern story. It was a great book, and I'm looking forward to continuing the series. My favorite original graphic novel this year was Star Trek Lower Decks: Warp Your Own Way, written by Ryan North with art by Chris Finoglio. They call it Warp Your Own Way because the term Choose Your Own Adventure is trademarked. That's what this is, though. It's a Choose Your Own Adventure style graphic novel. You make choices for the hero, in this case Beckett Mariner, and lead her through an adventure. You take different possible paths and you go to different pages depending on what you choose. However, unlike any other Choose Your Own Adventure book I've ever read, in this book you start to notice that these alternate paths that you're taking actually continue to have some relevance even after you've gone back and started over. I don't want to spoil anything else, but North has found an incredible twist that makes this the most original Choose Your Own Adventure book I have ever read, no matter what title you use. And finally, my favorite collected graphic novel of the year was the DC vs. Marvel Omnibus by, well, pretty much everybody. This book collects most of the crossovers DC and Marvel did during the 70s through the 80s in one massive hardcover edition. For a while, these crossovers were being turned out pretty regularly until after the JLA Avengers crossover in 2004, which ended the whole thing. Finally, we can see Superman facing Spider-Man again, Batman facing the Hulk, Brother Voodoo and Brother Power the Geek. Okay, not that one, but Fred Hembeck, if you're watching this, there's still time. Most importantly, though, the fact that they're putting out these hardcover editions makes me hope that relations between the two companies have finally thawed to the point where they'll start doing new crossovers again. Guys, it's a whole new year about to start. Make it happen. So guys, please go ahead and share with me your own favorite first reads of 2024. And you know, there's still a few hours left. If you're still looking for something, and make a suggestion.
Happy New Year!